Benjamin Netanyahu's downfall has begun. The Israeli Prime Minister is being attacked at home. He's being alienated by his closest friends abroad. He's being isolated at global forums. This is Netanyahu's hubris, ushering the end of his political career. Look at what happened on Tuesday. Netanyahu visited an Israeli Air Force unit. One would expect words of encouragement for soldiers. Except reservists serving in the elite Air Force say they were asked to steer clear. Apparently, Bibi was trying to dodge the tough questions. On the social media platform X, some Israelis allege Netanyahu knows what the soldiers will have to say to him will not be pleasant. Some Israeli soldiers who believe Netanyahu should not have visited Air Force units at all, in fact. They allege that Bibi's weekly visits are nothing more than election campaigning. In an open letter, veterans are calling Netanyahu's visit distasteful. Let me just read out a couple of lines for you. The warriors and supporting crews of the unit do not need a morale boost from the Prime Minister. On the contrary, not only do the visits not contribute, they divert the operational focus and feel like a cynical use for political public relations. Strong words there. The Israeli Prime Minister has been visiting soldiers and posing with them at least once a week. Sure, most leaders visit the military during wartime, but Netanyahu's visits are choreographed. Journalists are not allowed to accompany him. The Prime Minister's office personally hands out the footage from the visit. Soldiers that Netanyahu interacts with are carefully chosen. These are mostly young conscripts. They are told by their seniors to not express political views or reflect the country's sentiments. Most Israelis want Bibi to step down. In fact, a poll published by Channel 3 TV station found that 72% of Israelis said that Netanyahu should resign either immediately or as soon as the war ends. The Prime Minister is not blind. Netanyahu knows that actions have reshaped the world's perception of Israel. From the victim of Hamas's October 7 attack, Israel is now being looked at as Gaza's villain. Over 17,000 people have died in Palestine. Israeli airstrikes continue, as does the ground operation. 10 Israeli soldiers were killed in Gaza on Tuesday alone. Among them was a colonel. 138 hostages have not returned home, 138. Again, Netanyahu could not care less about them or their loved ones back home in Israel, it seems. More and more Israelis are joining the anti-government protests at home. Take a look.
We're here today to ask the government to immediately bring everybody back. We would like them to go to negotiation immediately. There isn't any time. Our people, our families are there alone in the cold. We want them back home. There isn't any time.
We came to Jerusalem to remind our government that there is no time left and that every day that passes by might be the last day of the hostages while they're alive.
The hostages do not have much time, but Netanyahu wants more time in office. He knows once the war is over, he will be held accountable for the October 7th security lapse. Just how could 3,000 fighters enter Israel and kill over 1,000 people and take hostage nearly 250 others? Netanyahu will have to take accountability. So, you see, he wants to prolong the war and now also have the final say on what happens post the war. This approach has cost Netanyahu friends. In the beginning of the war, US President Joe Biden had extended full support to Netanyahu, but Biden is now also frustrated by the civilian casualties in Gaza. On Tuesday, Biden was addressing a room of campaign donors in Washington. He said, and I'm quoting, "Bibi, I love you, but I don't agree with a damn thing you have to say," quote unquote. Biden went on to say Netanyahu is leading the most conservative government in Israel's history. The American president gave Netanyahu a choice. Change, he said. Not just the war's endgame, but also his government. Let me just read out what Biden had to say. Bibi's got a tough decision to make. He has to change this government. This government in Israel is making it very difficult. This is the most conservative government in Israel's history. They don't want a two-state solution. They don't want anything, quote unquote. Now, Biden knows he has voters to answer, and Netanyahu wants to stay on in office. The common thirst for power has led to another point of contention. What happens once the war ends? The US wants the Palestinian Authority to take over in Gaza. Netanyahu, meanwhile, wants Israeli forces to remain in Gaza. In fact, Bibi recently said Gaza will neither be Hamastan nor Fatastan. Israeli soldiers believe Netanyahu has turned the war into a political campaign, that his weekly visits are directed towards political gains. Israeli media has been reporting the Biden administration is convinced that Netanyahu has entered a campaign mode. But at whose cost is the question? Warplanes are bombing Gaza. Women and children continue to die. The rain has worsened the plight of the Gazans. On Tuesday, the United Nations General Assembly voted overwhelmingly in favor of a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. 153 countries voted in favor of the ceasefire. India was among them. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.